So this is Rose Unplugged, and we once again get to get an update from what's happening, where it's happening, and that's Washington, D.C. with Congressman Guy Reschenthaler from the 14th Congressional District. Guy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Rose, thanks for having me on again. I always have a really good time, so thank you.
Yeah, we like having you on and hearing about what's happening firsthand. So I got to talk to you about the convention. What an amazing week. I mean, it was so positive, and when you can contrast it with what happened with the Democrats and their convention, there's such a huge difference. A lot of positivity, a lot of spirituality, and a lot of
Right.
encouragement. What were some of your highlights?
Well, so there's a lot of highlights that I have. I think that just overall, we have such a, like you were saying, a very positive message. We're the ones that want to renew, restore, and rebuild America. The Democrats have a platform that's way too far left for the average American. I mean, they want to dismantle, they want to defund, they want to destroy our way of life. That's why the Democrats didn't talk about their platform. If you noticed during their convention, all it was criticizing President Trump, because they know if they were to actually lead with policy, they would lose voters. Coincidentally enough, the polling on their convention stayed flat. They actually lost grounds, which is, you usually don't see that. Normally there's a bump, but it just shows that they're not resonating with the everyday American. But the big highlights from our convention for me, one of the big ones is my really good friend, Senator Tim Scott, when he spoke. I thought his speech was phenomenal, talking about criminal justice reform, the fact that it was the Democrats that blocked his bill from being even debated in the Senate. That said a lot, and just his personal story is incredible. And then Nikki Haley did an incredible job talking about how Trump has been so strong on the foreign stage. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say Mike Pompeo. Of course, the Secretary of Defense Secretary of State did an excellent job speaking from Israel, in particular Jerusalem, about how President Trump has been the most pro-Israel president that we've ever had. So those are just some of the highlights.
Those were, and of course, our elegant and well-spoken First Lady was just fabulous. And one of my favorites actually ended up being Tiffany Trump. I wouldn't have thought so if you were told me she was on the lineup. But I actually really enjoyed her speech, because here we have a young person who graduated during COVID, and she, like others who've graduated recently, are concerned about the job force and what's out there and available.
Right. All the Trump kids did a really good job, I felt.
Yeah, they were really good.
It's gonna be interesting seeing how the Biden team handles Hunter Biden. I mean, the guy that went to China and came home with $1 billion hedge fund, which in a way makes him a partner with the Chinese Communist Party in a way, because he's managing that fund. And also the guy who had zero experience in corporate affairs, zero experience in oil and gas, yet was getting paid, what was it, $50,000 a month by a Ukrainian oil and gas company. So it's going to be interesting moving forward to watch how the Democrats try to hide Hunter Biden away from the public eye. Whereas President Trump's kids, we can put them anywhere because they're all level-headed, articulate, well-spoken, and they're supportive of the America that we all believe in. Not Hunter Biden, who is really, as you saw with the China deal, more interested in his own personal finances than actually supporting America, I'd argue.
I agree. You brought up Biden. So I remember when Biden gave his acceptance speech, President Trump tweeted, "They're just words." And really, it was just words.
Right.
Looking forward to, of course, to see Joe Biden, I guess, can't do the rebuttal. Who's surprised by that? He won't be doing it. They're saying that Kamala Harris will deliver the rebuttal after the acceptance speech.
Well, Joe, have Kamala Harris talk as much as they can, because she's an incredibly polarizing figure. Horrible blunder on their part picking Kamala Harris, who has an atrocious record. She had to drop out, I believe, Iowa, because she was such a bad candidate in the primary. But it shouldn't be shocking that Joe Biden isn't delivering the remarks or the rebuttal tonight. This man's an empty suit. He's a vessel. I've heard him described as a Trojan horse. He's just who's going to be there for the Americans to vote for, so then they can cram through, they being the far left, cram through their socialist agenda. He is nothing more than a front man for a far left movement.
And let's talk about something too, because Nancy Pelosi recently said, we don't need debates. Really, since when? Since when? Had this been any other election with any other candidate on the Democratic side, we would most certainly be calling for debates. And if Donald Trump had said that, then they'd be all over him. What are you trying to hide? Why can't you do a debate?
There's two reasons why the Democrats don't want to have debates. One is they know that Joe Biden is going to grossly underperform, especially when compared to President Trump.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two is they're afraid of showing the American people their true agenda. We when we talk, Rose, we don't actually list the agenda because we know it. But for those that aren't aware, I mean, this is a party that wants to do away with private health insurance because they want to move us to a single payer healthcare system. They also want illegal immigrants to get 100% taxpayer funded healthcare. This is a party that wants to have that thinks it's okay to kill unborn children right after birth. That's infanticide. They're trying to call it abortion. They've moved way too far left on that issue. This is a party who is kowtowing to China. Why haven't any of the Democrats called out the Chinese Communist Party for having concentration camps that they're using to suppress their Uyghur minority in Western China? The CCP has also invaded Hong Kong. There's a trampled free speech and personal freedoms in Hong Kong. Why don't the Democrats speak out against that? And then, of course, there's all the rioting, looting, the violent protests. The Democrats have been largely silent on that. And they're silent on that because that's their base. They can't really come out against that because that is the new Democrat base. These are the social justice warriors that fill their ranks.
That's a good point. I mean, I hadn't even thought about it really. I was just looking at it from the viewpoint that he's afraid to come out and debate. But you know what? You make an excellent argument there, or at least making the point why they wouldn't want to debate. Interesting. I thought it was interesting, too, that Angela Davis came out to endorse Biden. Now, I thought this was interesting. And for those who don't remember, I mean, she's from the 1970s. She's the left's darling. She's a socialist. She's done a whole bunch of horrible things. You can go look it up, okay? But Angela Davis said this: it's not so much that she likes Biden. She said that she really believed that he could be effectively pressured. Oh my God. That's what we've all been concerned about and believe,
Right.
that he could be effectively pressured.
Well, Bernie Sanders openly brags about this, that he controls Joe Biden and that they can get a lot. AOC has made similar statements where they can get in their agenda through Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders often says the quiet part out loud for the far left Democrats. In the first day of their convention, Bernie Sanders actually openly said the platform that we have now would have been considered true radical just 4 years ago. So he's admitting that they've moved the party drastically to the left. And if you think Joe Biden, the man, the vessel, the empty suit, is going to fight back against this far left encroachment, you're kidding yourself, because Joe Biden do whatever AOC, whatever Bernie Sanders tell him to do.
I thought we could quickly talk about Kenosha because we've got
Yeah.
the unrest again. And a lot of people, hey, listen, Guy, I have been traveling the state of Pennsylvania, and I've been talking to people all over, and they don't want to see the police defunded. They support law enforcement. When we take a look at what's happening all over this country now in Kenosha, the unrest, the violence, it's just horrific, and people don't like it. They don't want to see this anymore.
Well, today's Kenosha, today's Portland, today's Chicago, that's tomorrow's America under Joe Biden. And there's a reason why the Democrats have been silent on these violent protests, much like they've been silent on the Chinese Communist Party and that aggression. It's because at their core, they agree with these far left radical agenda items. Most Americans do not like this lawlessness. They do not like the fact that personal property is being destroyed. But those individuals that are engaged in rioting and looting and the violent protests, those are Biden voters. Those are Biden supporters. Those individuals are not supporting President Trump. So at the end of the day, the Democrat Party has a real problem on their hands because they've brought in this far left social justice warrior group into their party. That's where all their energy is derived from. It's not coming from Joe Biden. It's really coming from the AOCs, the Omars, et cetera. So it's scary to watch. But if we go the way of Bernie or Joe Biden, that chaos that you're seeing, that's just going to continue.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Anything you want to add to your update for your district?
No, no, Rose, I covered it. It's an honor and it's a privilege to represent the 14th district here in Washington, D.C. And I'll tell you, this place and this country needs a lot more of our values. I think it would be good if we had the values of Western Pennsylvania all over. And I'm certainly glad that I'm here promoting the values that we share here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you there. Trust me, we are so very grateful. Thank you so much. Take care, and
Hey, thanks, Rose. Have a good day.